Welcome to the Affordable Housing Matters, a program on local housing issues presented by WFOY on the first Friday of the month, produced in cooperation with the St. John's Housing Partnership and Mike Bonts Public Relations. Today, Bill Lazar, Executive Director of St. John's Housing Partnership, will be talking with Malinda, Everson, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of St. Augustine and St. John's County. She has worked in the nonprofit field for more than 20 years, including 4 years with Habitat for Humanity of Genesee County in Flint, Michigan, and the past 5 with Habitat in St. John's County. Having experienced homelessness as a child, she is very passionate about helping those in need of housing. She currently serves on the board of directors of the Continuum of Care of St. John's County. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
These first Fridays come quick, don't they?
In a heartbeat.
The months are just flying by.
And then we turn around and we finish before we even got started. So
Right.
It's always fun, though.
Yes. So let's jump into it.
All right. Well,
Let's get going.
I
Good
think-
morning,
why
Malinda.
don't
Thank you for being here.
most people know what Habitat is, and they know what y'all have been doing here for 30 years almost, I think.
Almost 30.
You know, I kind of laugh when I look back at it, but I think when I first started coming to the county working with y'all, impact fees were $2,000 a house.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Now they're back to up to 12,000. But tell folks a little bit about what y'all do so that people have a good understanding of who you're helping.
So our program is unique in that it's a self-help program. We qualify everybody for a mortgage, because at the end of all of this, our program, when they go through it, they're going to have a mortgage, but it's affordable to them. And in the process, they go through education on budget, finance, home maintenance, and they also have to work on building their home. So they have to provide at least 250 sweat equity hours. And again, at the end, they have an affordable mortgage. It's no more than 30% of their monthly gross income.
And the average folks that y'all are helping, their incomes, it probably ranges depending on who you're trying to help, but what's sort of the ballpark of who applies for help with y'all?
So, you know, it depends on the size of the family. We serve the area median income of 30 to 80%. And, you know, that again, that depends on the family size, but it can be for a single person, it can be $1,300 a month. That's kind of the low end.
Yeah.
And we serve low and very low income
Right.
community members.
With home ownership, which is huge,
Yes.
because I continue to tell everybody, when you talk about affordable housing, what you really should be starting with is it's the area median income, it's the gross household income and the family size that determines who and what is affordable. And y'all do a great job with folks who can't go anywhere else. I mean, you still make someone go through the entire same process of improving their credit, managing their money, learning how to think about, I'm going to be in this house, am I setting anything aside for maintenance or anything else? You know, you help give them a great sort of preparation for becoming a homeowner. And on top of it, I think when they work on the house and they see a house going up, they actually understand a whole lot more about what it is they're living in, which is huge. And it helps them sort of take care of things because they're a lot more respectful of what it's going to take to replace that door or that window or something else.
Talk about pride in home ownership. Excuse me, you know, when you have laid your hands on just about every piece of that house, or you've watched it go up, you are very proud of that house. And we want to set them up for success. We want to make sure that they're not just in a house, they're in a home that they are proud of, that they worked hard for, and it means so much more to them.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that both of us use volunteers a lot to help. Well, you know, what y'all do, you don't expect this homeowner to build the house by themselves. You bring in a lot of volunteers. You've got talk about some of the groups that help y'all make these homes successful. Because that's what I think is really cool sometimes, is all the people that give of their time to help build those houses and keep the costs down.
We have some amazing members of the community that come out, and we have what we call our regulars. They come out one day a week, and they're pretty skilled, and they have built so many houses, and they're the ones that we can just kind of say, okay, you can go do this. There's not a whole lot of teaching them. But then we also have these great groups that come out and they want to do team building for their work, or they just want to give back to the community. And we even have individuals who just want to come out and give back. But it really creates also another sense of community, and they get to know our homeowners because they're working side by side, hammering the nails. They're learning their story, and they're very excited about helping and giving back.
Yeah. Y'all recently built a house for I want to say he's a young guy, but he was a veteran from maybe one of Afghanistan or one of those.
Iraq. Yes.
Yep. So that was kind of neat. Tell us about that.
So that's still going. If you want to come out and work on his house, you can.
How,
he's
how
out there
far
a
along
lot.
is it?
We're getting ready to set the trusses. There was a little bit of a slowdown with that because, building materials and such. But yeah, Chris is a pretty amazing guy. He's a single guy. Him and his dog, and he's a Purple Heart veteran. And he's very spiritual and thoughtful, and it's really a pleasure to be working with him. But yeah, he came back from Iraq, and he had been injured, and he went on this spiritual journey. He went around the world, and then he ended up here, and he just wants a place to be comfortable and settle. But he was living in this horrible mobile home that didn't have running water. There was holes in the walls. I shouldn't say it didn't have running water. The only running water he had was in the bathroom. So if he needed to do his dishes or whatever, I don't even think he could cook. I don't think there's a kitchen to cook in. So that's where he was living.
That's some of our so-called rental property in St. Johns County.
Yeah, you've seen it a lot, I'm sure, and it's just heartbreaking to see people living like that. And our veterans deserve better. So he's out there working, and he's far exceeded his 250 hours. He just really likes being out there, and he wants to get into the construction trade.
We'll hire him if he wants help.
I bet he'd give you a call. He's going to be out there tomorrow. Yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
Who are some of the groups that are helping build his house? Have you got groups lined up? Do you need help from folks?
We can always use more volunteers, definitely. Lately, I'm trying to think who has actually worked on his house. I know there was a local insurance company, State Farm came out. One of the local real estate companies, Noah Bailey, his group came out. But yeah, I lose track.
I'm just thinking, I met our Patriot Place, the apartments we're building for some at-risk veterans. I met a young guy, he goes by Big Country. He's part of a combat veterans motorcycle group. But they're looking for volunteer projects, so remind me, I'll dig up his number, because I'm sure they would love to come help him. They basically have said they'll go anywhere to help someone who's a vet. They're going to help us work on rehabbing a bathroom for a woman who's a 20-year Navy vet. It's got some plumbing issues and stuff, but I'm sure they'd probably love to dive in on that.
Oh, for sure. What a great fit.
His name's Big Country.
Big Country. All right. I'll be
if
looking
someone
for
knows
him.
him, call him and tell him to call us.
I'll be looking for him.
I moved and you thought that I was. We're going to take a break in just a minute. So before I hate to interrupt, but we'll come back and we'll continue. Don't forget, you are listening to First Friday Affordable Housing Matters, a program here on WFOY 102.1 FM and AM 1240. And this morning we have, of course, as always, Bill Lazar, Executive Director of St. John's Housing Partnership. And he's joined this morning by Malinda Everson, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. Like I said, we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we'll continue and talk a little bit, see who else we might be able to connect and get over to help building some homes over there, right? That's what it's all about.
We can all use volunteers. If someone has got time and got skills, we can put them all to work.
That's right. I love it. That's one of the best parts about this show. We can kind of connect people who are looking to help with the people who need the help. And that's what it's all about in our community. All right. We'll be right back on WFOY.
Thank you.
Sorry. I decided to just kind of...
So I just was watching the dials and go, is it my time to
I need to
want
move
to
over.
switch chairs?
No, I feel like I'm leaning. No, I'm just going to move over this way a little bit because I feel like I'm like trying to read the mic. And it's all good. It's all good.
I always kind of like working in a padded room.
Right?
Brings back other memories. So
all right. We've got
think
some watchers.
Let's talk about infrastructure and how important it is to not have to pass that cost on to your home buyers. And let's talk about employers.
Okay.
that, you see where your people are working. Because I think that's, and that's, the same thing with these lots that are coming up from the county and the CRA district is, we posted the article on our Housing Partnership Facebook page the other day, and I had a bunch of people writing back and forth about, well, who's it going to be for? Because they said income up to 140% AMI. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because those folks who are making up to 140% are having a hard time buying a house in this county also. So, the whole idea of trying to stabilize the neighborhood is if you're making a decent income and you want to remain living in your old neighborhood, this is an opportunity for some of them to do it. But I mentioned that, because I've worked with Willie Cooper and Greg White and some of those folks where they've over the years gotten Grumman to intentionally try and recruit people out of West Augustine to come work at Grumman because it's a decent paying job with a future and a benefit and everything else. And so I think the more we talk about some of these employers, and several people wrote back and said, well, it's just Grumman. I said, no. I said, we're looking at any other employers. I said, but I think that's what's important for the county and everybody is to hear about who are the employees that we're stabilizing. A couple of the homes that we just closed on, one of the buyers was a woman who works for the fried chicken food truck.
Okay.
She's one of the managers for it, I think. So she had been hunting to buy a house, wanted to stay in the West Augustine area, couldn't find anything until she found, one of the houses that we had listed. But there's a perfect example of someone who's part of a small business. You want to keep them here. You don't want her commuting from Palatka or Duval to run a small business here in town. So I think the more we can talk about those kind of employees, and you probably got all sorts of anecdotes of the people that are now in your homes, even going back. You think about some of the homes you've stabilized over the last 20 years. Those are the stories that always touch me. It's like, there's a guy at Publix I go into and see, he works in the bakery, and he says, SHIP program helped me buy my house 20 years ago. And I go, well, it obviously did the right thing because you're still here, you're stable, you're still working, which Publix appreciates because they got a stable employee. Mm-hmm. He said, we've almost paid off our house. Oh, that's awesome. And it's like, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's interesting, we live in a small town. We can talk about this when we get on the air. It's interesting. Small town, how you go around and you go to your bank and like, oh, she's one of our homeowners. Oh, Publix, oh. Aren't you one of our homeowners? It's interesting to see.
That's great.
Yeah, it's definitely the nice part of the small town is that you actually, these are true. We're truly neighbors. We're all, here for each other. It's not, like you may never see them again because they're all, big city or whatever. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love that. All right. Back in. I have they gave me a little blurb to read coming back in.
You may read your blurbs.
Welcome back to the Affordable Housing Matters. You can make a difference in what has become an affordable housing crisis in our county. Our workforce, ranging from teachers to first responders and restaurant workers, are not able to find decent, safe, affordable housing in one of the most prosperous counties in our state. The elderly and local businesses are also suffering. Here's how you can help. If you have property or land, contact the nonprofit, the St. Johns County Housing Partnership. If you are not in a position to donate for affordable housing, St. John's Housing Partnership can possibly purchase and build affordable housing for your community members. You can also make a cash donation or bequeath a gift. St. John's Housing Partnership can give you further information about the tax and financial benefits of these and other gift methods. Visit www.sjhp.org.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Had to get that out of the way.
That's great. Thank you. Well, and for everybody to realize that we're doing the same thing. We're looking for the same opportunities that Habitat's looking for. If people have land in this community, if they want to see something, built for someone who lives here, who already works here, that's what we're both about. It's not that we want to exclude everybody else that's coming here, but both of us basically have a mission of stabilizing our local residents. And that's what, Melissa, we were talking about a little bit on the break, is it's fascinating to me when you walk around town and you run into somebody who's living in a home that you helped them buy 20 years ago. And then you go, that's what these programs are all about. That family was stabilized. They raised their kids here. They stayed in the same school district. They didn't have to move 6 different times. I mean, that's huge. You've got all sorts of stories, I'm sure, about some of the people, the employees that you've helped over the years.
Yeah, in our small town, of course, you go to the bank, or you go to Publix, or places like that, or your doctor's office. You see people that you've helped, and what's remarkable is some of these people have been living in these homes 15, 20 years. There's one lady that she paid off her house, and it has stabilized her and her family.
Yeah.
And that's just one story. There's so many where they live there, and they live there indefinitely. They don't have to jump around and try to find the next place because of a hiccup, because they can actually afford their housing bill. Yeah.
Well, it's, one of the real challenges, I think, for people living in the rental market, especially if you have kids, is when you have to go look for a rental market, you're just not looking for the next best place, but you're paying attention to, what school district. I was talking to one of the COA employees, one of their bid management people. She and her husband and 2 kids were renting a place for $1,650 a month. They just got a notice that the landlord's raising rents to $2,000 a month, $400. And it's going up in 2 months. They gave them 2 months notice, like that's anything.
Yeah.
But what she's really concerned about is not just finding another place they can afford to rent, but it's what school district are we going to, because our kids are in middle school and we're suddenly here, and now we might have to, and that, for those of us who moved around as kids and got bounced around, some of us didn't really like having to change schools and change friends all the time, but that's one of the important parts of home ownership. You really helps, you stabilize employees, but you stabilize the family too. And the kids growing up where they can go through the same school system and have the same process and teachers, it benefits them in the long run.
Yeah, there's enough to navigate as a child, just being a kid, especially in today's day with everything coming at them, but to have to reestablish friends and figure out, how they fit into all that. That's really tough. There was a really good article recently in the New York Times talking about kids who ended up coming out of poverty. And the one determining factor was that the culture in which they lived wasn't also poverty. Like their friend group maybe was in a higher level, like a middle class level. If they lived in poverty and their friend group was in a middle class level, that's usually where they rose up to. And it was a really good, interesting article. And that's what we want to do for our families. We don't want to perpetuate the cycle of poverty. We want those kids to end up achieving, a higher education. And also, we don't want them to come back and apply for a Habitat house. We want them to succeed and get out in the world and do what they need to do.
Well, and I think, that's a big part about having housing solutions that work for families at different levels. Because one of the things that HUD really pushes is you don't want all the low-income housing built in the same neighborhood. No. The challenge that you and I have is that that's also where most of the cheaper lots are. The bigger challenge of that, the thing that makes you and I crazy the most, is finding cheap land that doesn't have roads, water, and sewer.
Yes.
And that's where you are right now. Y'all have got a new subdivision. You've bought the land. You're ready to break ground on it, but you've got to put in roads, water, and sewer yourself, because government doesn't do that anymore like they did 40 years ago. So just talk a little bit about what y'all have to do and how much you have to raise to do that.
So it's interesting, when I worked at Habitat up in Michigan, that was already in. You buy a lot, and the road, sewers, water, everything was in there. So it's been a big learning curve for me when I came here that, we have to raise $1 million to build this neighborhood. Right. And that's what we're looking at with Volusia Woods. We have a 5-acre parcel over off of Volusia, right near our Canopy Oaks neighborhood. And we know we have to clear it, and we have the money to build the actual houses, but raising the $1.2 million is the challenge. And it would be hugely helpful if our government did that for us, but they don't.
But we have an opportunity, and this is kind of a sore point right now, but we've got St. Johns County and counties across the country have the American COVID Relief Act funds. Some of that can be used for affordable housing. The feds have said it's an eligible activity, and the idea behind using it for affordable housing is it writes down the cost of it. So if you've got how many homes on your next site?
36.
36 homes, so divide $1 million by 36 homes. That's what you've got to pass on to everybody else unless we can find some other resources to pay for it. Ultimately, you're going to write the check for it. You just don't want to have to pass that cost on to the end user, because if it does, it's raising the cost of those homes $30,000, $40,000.
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's where the Relief Act money could really be a huge help. And I know in the past you've gotten help through the county for Canopy Oaks, but it was usually like in certain amounts, so much one year, so much the next year, just based on the funds that they had available. So at least with the Relief Act funds, there is an opportunity to apply for it and pay for it all at one time. And then you can just get started.
Right. We could accelerate this program with those funds. A lot of other affiliates, Habitat affiliates around the nation, have gotten those funds. And I know locally they're trying to sort through that. So hopefully that will happen for us.
Yep.
Because we're ready. We could go gangbusters on that. And we've also revised our strategic plan to build more houses. So we're going to double our output. So we're ready to go. We're excited about it.
And you've probably got families lined up ready to apply.
We do. And these families are hugely important in our community. They work at your doctor's offices, your dentist's office, Flagler Hospital, Flagler College, the school system. These are very vital positions that people, if we have a job shortage now, if they can't live here, it's just going to increase.
Right. Your normal mortgage is about what for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that you're building out there?
So again, that depends on your income.
Right.
So in Canopy Oaks is the neighborhood we are wrapping up. We'll be done probably by the end of the year with that neighborhood. House payments in that neighborhood range from about $400 to $900 a month.
You can't touch a rental for that.
Not even a bad rental.
That's something, it's really interesting. I've been doing this in St. Johns County for almost 30 years, and I'll talk to anybody about housing. As my kids say, I'll stand in line at Publix and talk to a stranger about housing just because I'm so passionate about it. But I can walk into any business in this community and find someone answering phones, working in the nurses that I talk to when I go for my doctor's appointments. Most of them have never heard about affordable housing programs. They may have heard about Habitat, or they may have heard about something, but they never thought it applied to them. I've talked to county employees who've said, well, we can't buy one of your homes because we work for local government. I said, no. I said, you're one of the groups that we want to stabilize, and some of us, we've got down payment assistance to help people, but we need help getting the word out. We want people who are listening. If you're thinking about buying a home, if you've given up buying a home, it's not a matter of giving up. You just have to look and realize that there are programs out there. There's a new down payment program called Hometowns for Heroes that actually offers up to 5% of the purchase price as down payment assistance if you're one of about a couple dozen different employment professions: first responders, teachers, medical assistants, dental assistants, acupuncturists, I noticed was on there. There's also athletic trainers, which I haven't quite figured out that part yet. But carpenters aren't listed, which is really kind of frustrating to me.
That is frustrating.
But this is where we need to share with people, and we need people to realize it's not the time to give up. It's the time to say, I'm doing all the right things. I just can't find something. What's available in my community? And y'all do an amazing job for folks that
you guys do as well.
Well, you all, guess what? Time is up.
Okay.
It just flies by. We could keep going. This is so important, and I appreciate you all being here with us. This has been the First Friday Affordable Housing Matters program on housing issues presented by WFOY and produced in cooperation with the St. John's Housing Partnership and Bonts Public Relations. Join us again Friday, September 2nd at 8:30 a.m. for our next show. Sorry.
It's okay. I understand.
That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to say, let's
Oh,
let
Yeah.
Facebook
How do
know.
people find Habitat?
Yes.
so you can pop into our office, 7 Hopkins Street. You can check out our website, habitatstjohns.org. And you could give us a call, 904-826-3252.
Awesome.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All
Say
right.
goodbye to Facebook.
Bye,
Bye,
Facebook.
Facebook.